Holidays nale நம்ம GT Holidays தான் South India's #1 travel brand. தலைசிறந்த திருமண நகைகளின் பிரத்யேக அணிவகுப்பு ஸ்ரீகுமரன் தங்க மாளிகை. Meenakshi Faculty of Yoga Science and Therapy. Admissions open for BSc and MSc Yoga. Apply now.
Hello, Vignesh Raja. Welcome to Galatta Plus.
Hello, sir. Thank you.
So, actually, I've known you for a long time.
Yes.
So, and I've seen a lot of your really good ad films. Adnala, to see Port Thoril was a very pleasant experience because I thought one of the best thing about this movie was how beautifully you had directed the film. Because usually வந்து ஒரு simplicity இருந்தது, ஒரு elegance இருந்தது. சும்மா கேமரா வந்து லைக் காமிக்கணுமேங்கிறதுக்காக ஒரு கேமராவை ஆட்டாமல் ஒரு ஃப்ளாஷி எடிட்டிங்லாம் இல்லாமல் ரொம்ப அந்த ஸ்டில்னஸ் அந்த நைட் எல்லாமே ரொம்ப அழகாக யூஸ் பண்ணியிருந்தீங்க. ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ஆஃப் ஆல் உங்கள் டெஃபினிஷனில் டிரெக்ஷன்னா என்ன? What is your philosophy of direction?
To me, I think direction is mainly acting like a filter, sir. So you're working with a huge cast and crew, and I'm talking simply from the point of view of a director. Assuming I'm not writing the script. In this case, I've co-written the script with Alfred. But let's say just as a director. So a director needs to have a vision, overall vision of the film, right? And he kind of bounces it on his cast and crew, and they want to come up with ideas. Now, I think the director basically needs to act as a filter and let in only the ideas that is going to like sort of contribute to the main vision and to sort of filter the other things out. It's not necessarily director needs to always come up with the goods. It's just enough if he or she has the right taste, sensibility, and it's just like a marathon of decision making. And if you get like more decisions right than wrong, I think you'll have a good film.
The one thing that really impressed me in Port Thoril was யூஸ்வலாக வந்து இந்த மாதிரி டிகில் படம், சீரியல் கில்லர் படம், சஸ்பென்ஸ் நைட் இந்த மாதிரினா they'll tend to, like if you've seen Blair Witch Project and movies like that, they'll tend to like use a lot of handhelds to kind of, because அதுவே ஒரு ஷேக் மாதிரி இருக்கும், you don't know what's going to enter the frame, so அது பண்ணுவாங்க இல்லை they'll try to do a lot of but your cinematographer Kalai Selvan Sivaji,
Yes.
and நீங்க வந்து almost like a drama, you've captured it, like very elegant moves. Like I'm remembering that scene where Ashok Selvan வந்து he looks out of this window,
Right.
and then one window is facing the killer,
Yeah.
and the other window is facing one little boy who's a neighbor. So அது வந்து I think you just do a pivot la?
Right.
Like
It
the
just turns around.
just
There's
turns
just
around.
3 shots there.
It's three, yeah. So you're kind of, so it's not like you're not cutting there. You're basically maintaining that or how do I call this? Or maybe a purity.
So Aditya said the design was, we wanted to do a very classical approach to the filmmaking. Like I'm a big fan of David Fincher, his films, the precision, the movements and all of that. So இப்போ இந்த படத்தில் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா almost 80% of it are all match cuts, meaning let's say a character is like the same scene you're saying, he's looking through this window, he hears a disturbance off screen, he turns, right? We cut on the turn.
Right.
And then he continues to
You
walk
cut on the action.
Yeah. So it just gives you that illusion of continuity, and we've not tried, I don't think we've done any jump cuts at all in the film. So that was the idea, is to make all the cuts invisible and to have a very classical approach to it, like camera on movements and classical framing, classical blocking and staging, a lot of foreground background stuff.
Right.
So it's all part of the design.
Right. And another scene that I really liked was, of course I liked a lot of scenes, but like even the colors that you chose, like Ashok Selvan is the junior guy, so they're both wearing monochrome shirts, but Ashok Selvan is wearing the lighter shades, and the senior cop is wearing the heavier colors of shirts. Like it adds all these little decisions that creates that world of what you're doing. So that's all the work that you're doing. The director does with the costumer, the director does with the cinematographer, the director does with the editor, everything like that. Another scene that I really liked was when the killer is like opens the door and comes in, and you hold him in the foreground in a master shot, and then Ashok Selvan on the pinnadi irkaru, he's
Just
trying to
sneaking
escape
out, yeah.
so he's sneaking out, and you kind of don't do a cut to his sweaty face, or like you don't isolate him from the overall situation. Like எப்பவுமே வந்து ரெண்டு பேரும் like they are in, we are seeing them in relation to
both in
each
field
other.
of vision, yeah.
So and then when he escapes, you then go outside. So that's what I'm talking about, because இல்லைன்னா நார்மலாக வந்து just to show Ashok Selvan's reaction,
Too
ஒரு
close.
ஒரு go close to him, do a close up, அந்த மாதிரிலாம் இல்லவே இல்லை. So what made you think that this classical approach was the right approach?
Like for the same shot that you were saying, sir, I think that way the audience are more engaged because they're doing the editing.
Right.
We're not asking you to look here or there. So the picture is clear. Now you get to choose where you want to look.
Right.
Right. If the drama is working for you, the audience will look where the filmmaker intends them to look at. So I think it's a very there's a beauty about the master shots. If done well, they're very difficult to do because you don't have any fallbacks in the edit.
And you have to light.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, light it accordingly. So I think that is a very, it kind of really pulls in the audience instead of like kind of spoon feeding them to, dictating them where to look at any given point of time. So that is something. And again, like since you brought up the costumes, the costume designer Dinesh Manoharan, so we were having this discussion. So for this thing, we had actually purchased plain fabrics and chosen a particular color. So Sharat sir's will tint towards black and Ashok's will tint towards white. And we were doing that, and at some point we had this conversation. டேய் யாராவது இதெல்லாம் நோட்டீஸ் பண்ணுவாங்களடா, நான் சும்மா எல்லாருக்கும் மேபி ரங்கன் சார் பண்ணலாம் அப்படின்னு கரெக்டாக. பட் டு கிவ் இது credit, this idea is something I got from 500 Days of Summer.
Right.
So if you look at that film, the hero, if I'm right, he's always, any scene you pick, he's in shades of brown, and the girl is in shades of blue. I think that they would maintain it beautifully.
Right.
It's something that I borrowed from that.
No, it's not just black and white. Even when they're wearing, Sarathkumar is wearing red. Ashok Selvan is wearing pink.
Oh yeah, that Ashok had like a serious issue with it. Like for the majority of the time, he's on a pink t-shirt.
Yeah, so pink or light blue or எல்லாமே light colors, that was adding so much to the scenes. So now I want you to take us through any one scene, which you think is going to show how you directed the scene. That is, நீங்க எப்படி ஸ்டேஜ் பண்ணீங்க? Because staging is a term that is very loosely used, இல்லையா? Because it's like, but basically what it means is, how did you say, I want the camera here, or I want this setup here, I want both of them in the frame, illa I want only one of them in the frame, illa I'm going to go from this person to that person. Like, explain the decisions around one particular scene. So I'm leaving the rest of the floor to you.
Okay. Sure. So let's maybe talk about that role play scene,
Right.
which comes like about at the end of Act 1 or so.
Right.
So it is, I think this is the biggest scene it comes at right about the 30th minute mark, that scene. And I think it is the longest scene in the film. And it was, even while we were writing it, it was a very interesting scene, because basically what's happening is Sharat sir's character is actually profiling the killer. He's getting into the mind of the killer. In the process, he's sort of telegraphing his acceptance to Ashok Selvan. But until this point, he's been like really putting him down. And now he's like, okay, let me just, loosen up, warm up to this guy. So it's a very challenging scene to direct because it's very talky. And it's just two characters
Right.
in a forest. So there are no props, right? Like no chair or for them to drink a water, no business.
Nothing, yeah,
basically.
no business, yeah.
So it was a very, very very challenging, and I was very nervous directing because on the page we knew it was working because it's very interesting. It will be very new for the audience because they haven't seen this kind of an investigation into the mind of a killer. So adu pannumbodhu, not just this scene, sir, this entire film plays through the point of view of Ashok Selvan. So whenever I'm in doubt, I just go to his lens. What is he feeling now? So how is he seeing Sharat sir? How is he seeing the killer? How is he seeing himself? Is he agitated? Is he calm? Right? Will he listen to his surroundings? So that was like the filter which I try to eliminate the other choices. So that was the thing. So what we did for the entire film, we kind of storyboarded the entire thing. Mainly because we were on a pretty tight schedule and there was no opportunity for us to sort of wing it, let's அங்கே போயிட்டு ஃபிகர் அவுட் பண்ணிக்கலாம் அப்படின்றது இல்லாமல். அண்ட் ஐம் நாட் லைக் I don't think the storyboarding, I find it very tedious to sit with someone and to tell them, then they draw it and eventually the perspectives are not right and all that. So we have this app which a lot of people are using now, which is basically it kind of simulates the viewfinder, where you can select the camera and select the lenses and all of that. So அதை வந்து நீங்கள் எடுத்துகிட்டு போய் லொக்கேஷன் போயிட்டு we my associates assistant directors எல்லாம் வச்சு we'll block the scene. We'll do the mechanical blocking of the entire scene and we'll break it down to shots and turn them into storyboards. So that is how we did most of the
So
scenes.
instead of somebody sketching,
Yes.
like in the old days,
Yeah.
you actually use like photographs of the
Like a
your
stand-ins on the actual location.
right, and the stand-ins are what, your ADs or something?
Yeah, my ADs. They are always my ADs and assistant cinematographers because they also come to the spot.
Right.
So we used to make like 3-4 visits to every spot so that we had everything on paper, and there was very little communication between Kalai and me on set. And because I wanted the time to spend with the actors, because
Right.
I couldn't spend time before shooting.
Right.
So that was the idea.
Right.
So yeah.
So before we see a storyboard, I just want to ask you one technical question,
Yes.
which is that you know, the most famous director who used storyboards was Hitchcock.
Right.
In the history of cinema, he always said that once I conceived of the storyboards, I lose interest in a film because adukapram வந்து he just has to go and execute that. So there is no, on the set there is no creative decision to be made because you've already decided in the scene like a camera the people are going to be standing there, all those kinds of things you've decided. So the actual shooting needs to be done.
Right.
Did you have a feeling like that?
Which is why I'm saying for me shooting is mainly working with the actors.
Right.
So I'm not telling my ADs what we're doing next. I'm not telling Kalai what lens to put. So when you see the storyboard, the lens is mentioned.
Right.
It's a 35, 85, 40, whatever, everything's mentioned. So everybody knows what we're doing next.
Right.
They know like 10 shots down the line. So that's there. Of course, however you plan, like Murphy's Law, something will go wrong. Of course, you can do that. So about 80% of the time, to me, shooting is working with the actors because that's the only time you get with them.
And that's the time you use for working with briefing them,
Trying out different variations, they're going to bounce, the actor's instinct, they come up with ideas. I want to maximize that. I don't want to spend that time with my cinematographer while I can do that like 3 months prior to the shoot. So
Right.
that's the idea behind, the extensive story. Not just that, since since we're on a schedule, right? We can't afford, let's say I'm shooting and suddenly I say, no, this is not working. I want to do a different lighting setup. We're looking at anywhere between 20 to 90 minutes. And we can't afford that,
right,
you know,
to change the setup.
change the setup. We can't wing it basically. And I don't consider myself being so talented a filmmaker. There are filmmakers who do that. There are filmmakers, who just intuitively come in and in most of the cases, it's just the filmmaker knows what he's doing.
Right.
Right. Others are all catching up. But to me, I didn't want to be in that space. I don't think I can, function in that space. And that's the reason behind storyboarding.
Right. So the storyboards were done like how many days before the shoot?
Depends. So if this scene we're talking about, it's a forest, right? So we can go anytime and do it. So this probably 2 to 3 weeks prior to the shoot, actual shoot.
Okay. You want to take us through the storyboard?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So like I said, so the entire scene,
Right.
right? It's about these two guys visiting the crime scene.
Right.
Right. So we wanted to start with Sharat sir because he's the lead investigating officer here.
Yeah.
And we've been building up him till this point in the film, right? He's not saying much. We don't know who he is, what he's capable of, and all of that. So we wanted to start the scene with him, right? He enters into the crime scene, and we wanted to just linger on him. The idea is to get the audience curious about what this guy is thinking. So the first section of the scene is on Sharat sir, where he kind of enters, kind of scans the place, lights up a cigarette. I know he's running through all of the details.
Right.
And as he's doing it, we have this entry of Ashok Selvan.
Yeah.
So it's deliberate framing here.
So the yellow person is Sarathkumar.
Yes,
and
sorry.
the blue person is
Ashok
Ashok Selvan. Okay.
So the deliberate framing here is to ensure entry of Ashok into the frame. So now we started with Sharat sir. Now the focus is shifting to him.
Right.
And then he kind of asks about Nithini case file பார்த்துட்டு இருந்தியே
Yeah.
என்ன கத்துக்கிட்ட அப்படின்னும் போது
Yeah.
ஸோ இங்கே இருந்து ஓடிஎஸ்ல ஆரம்பிக்கும் போது when he's kind of scrutinizing him, we cut to like a solo
Right.
of him where he's sort of isolated. Ashok Selvan is isolated.
Right.
And then so in the scene la pathina, from the start of the scene, Ashok is to the right of frame, Sharat sir is to the left. But the scene ends, they actually flipped.
Yeah.
They flipped, and it's also this first moment where he's kind of uh, including him into the case kind of thing.
Yeah.
So we wanted to do that swap also
Yeah.
through the scene.
Sarath Kumar is to the left of the frame,
Ah.
Ashok Selvan is to the right,
And here you see that
they're
it's
reversed.
flipped.
It has
Yeah.
been reversed. Now,
Yeah.
tell me one thing. In the first storyboard, you pretty much have only Sarath Kumar, like he's going
Yes.
into the scene and
Yes.
he's
You
examining
see
everything.
Ashok in the master, that's it.
Yeah. So you just see him here, and then you go throughout and you show him.
Yeah.
And then he tentatively approaches.
Right.
Tell me the advantage of this is an over-the-shoulder shot
Right.
from Sarath Kumar.
Right.
This is an over-the-shoulder shot from Ashok Selvan.
Right.
Now, you're using that to basically show the presence of the other person in the frame.
Yes.
What is the difference between this shot and had he had just approached without Sarath Kumar in the frame, if you're not shooting from over his shoulder?
It's mainly more than a psychological thing. It is mainly to establish geography. It kind of connects these two in this particular space.
Space, okay.
That's the idea. So once we do that, then for psychological reasons, we can avoid Sharat sir and go close to Ashok when I want to show him isolated.
Right.
And ஒரு பாயிண்ட்ல அவர் கொஞ்சம் குரலை ஏற்றுவார். அவன் கேஸ் ஃபைல திறந்தோடனே அது எதுக்கு திறக்கிற அப்படின்னும் போது அப்போ I wanted his image size to be large. So here I don't want Ashok Selvan's presence in this shot or in this shot. But since this is the first time we see them in relation with each other,
Right.
the OTS was kind of inevitable.
To show this is the direction that he's facing,
Yes.
and that
He
is
is looking
where
this way.
he's coming
Yeah.
from.
Right.
Okay.
So
And then
that's-
you're kind of reversing that over there.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
In this shot, you see the distance between the two, right? And then this Ashok Selvan starts telling about the case details and all of that, and Sharat sir is actually approaching him. As he approaches, the camera also kind of closes in on him, and you see Ashok Selvan growing nervous every time he comes. So this is when he says, the route you're going is not going to work. Like, kind of, let me tell you how to do this, and then he starts the profiling. So this is when we do like a sort of a round trolley kind of a thing, where Sharat sir starts here, and as he's speaking, he's walking around Ashok. This is where it kind of turns around.
Right.
We kind of completely do like a 180-degree axis shift.
Right.
And then again we come to Sharat sir.
And
I mean, yeah.
another thing I liked, and sorry to interrupt,
No, no
was
problem.
even when this axis shift is happening, you're doing it because somebody's moving.
Yes, yes,
It's
yes,
not
yes.
like rendu peru stationary
Yeah,
and irukanga and
yeah.
just the camera is moving.
It's motivated by the character.
The camera movement is motivated by a character's movement,
Yes, yes.
rather than just showing off and doing
Exactly,
one 180 or something like
Exactly.
that.
So it now it's basically is being sort of lectured, right? So he's there. It's like a teacher who moves around in classroom, as he's talking to a student. So yeah. So this is where we complete the flip, and here we again avoid a OTS and go close where he says, "Body eppadi kadandadu senjikami," where he is forcing Ashok Selvan into action.
Right.
And this again here, as he's kneeling down, we cut to the first wide.
Right.
After the scene starts, where you kind of again see the space and he's getting down and all of that. And
So tell me, why was this? I mean, psychologically speaking, why was this space necessary? Because this is also a master you're using.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. The first master was exactly in the opposite direction. It's from inside the forest.
Right, right.
Right. Now we are where the actors were, and pointing to the, it's in the middle of the scene. This is technically the midpoint of the scene.
Right.
Right. So, and this shift, and two, I felt that at this point when he's kneeling down, the power dynamic is very obvious with this staging, and also this emptiness kind of creates like a creepy vibe to it. It's like imagine this in the night. What the killer would have done
Right.
to the victim and all of that.
And to me, this is also what Sarath Kumar is doing is he's recreating the killer's crime.
Yeah.
So when I'm seeing it from a distance, that is in a master and not like a close up, I'm actually seeing these two as
Yes.
killer and
the victim. Yeah.
rather than Sarath Kumar and Ashok Selvan.
Exactly.
Is that correct?
That's the whole idea.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the whole idea. So from here on, it's primarily I really like these two shots where Sharat sir is moving towards Ashok, and both the shots are in movement. It cuts really well together, and where he's this shot we used in the trailer and all of that. He's pulling his head back, and where he starts going through the MO.
Right.
Where he says, so this is where we show the inferiority complex, the eye contact
Right.
kind of shots and all of that.
Yeah. And what's interesting is, இப்போ வந்து Sarath Kumar is the killer,
Right.
and this Ashok Selvan is the victim.
Yeah.
But in a way, even in real life,
Yeah.
he is towering over this guy because he is the superior guy and he's the newbie.
Rookie, yeah.
So there's a kind of a
Parallel going on there.
parallel going on there. Yeah.
Which is why the scene is more convincing.
Yeah.
Had it been between two equals,
Yeah.
I don't think it would work.
Yeah.
I don't think the guy would have gone on his knees in the
Right.
first place.
Yeah.
So after this is what now he starts the strangulation.
Right.
Now this one is not a motivated movement.
Yeah.
We do like a 180 semicircular track as he's doing it.
Yeah.
So this is, I would say, a slightly flashy move.
Yeah. But you're also taking the noose or whatever, the wire or whatever it is, and he's making a circle with that.
And
so your camera's doing the circle. So it's like you're still, it is a kind of a motivated movement. Yeah.
So and then we, of course, so like I said, the film also, we have very, very few close-ups. So what happens then is again something that, Finch has told a lot of times. The fewer close-ups you have, the more powerful they become. So in this entire scene, this is probably the first close-up we use. That kind of is very impactful. Since we've not cut to any close-ups till, until this point in the scene.
Right.
And of course, this is a very different angle where you see, Ashok Selvan thing, and then the round trolley. This is where the round trolley starts.
Yeah.
And it starts, and again we do a 180 shift from this axis. This is where we again move to there.
So this is where he's tightening the noose.
Yes.
And once he's tightened, you're kind of going around them to kind of give a full perspective of the scene. To kind of.
So here we are to the right of Ashok Selvan. Now we are to the left.
Yeah.
So we again shifted axis here. So the second time we're shifting axis here.
Right.
Now he asks him to sort of get up, and then we move towards the end of the scene, and we have the third character coming in.
Right.
We are again in this axis, right? Let's say we're towards the right of Sharad sir, but in the end we're towards left of Sharad sir.
Right.
So how do we cut from this axis to this axis? Is again we cut in action. So we get Ashok Selvan to get up, right? In this shot, as he is getting up, we move from here to here.
Yeah.
So we use that action to jump axis smoothly, and again we're where we started.
Right.
So yeah. So it's basically how this particular scene was designed. So
Very nice.
Right.
So so I mean, I would love to see storyboards for all the scenes, but clearly, there are so many other scenes. Another really, really lovely scene, which is the long scene, as opposed to the Ashok Selvan escaping that scene. Killer/suspect's car, I'm trying not to say the name.
The check post.
is that stopped at the check post.
Right.
You have a scene where it seems almost motionless, where you're not like shifting the camera too much. You're not kind of doing much because you're kind of just basically, it's almost like a short reaction shot kind of thing, where you're pretty much going between the policeman who's asking the questions and the killer/suspect who's I'm just like the name is just like dropping off my thing. So he's kind of there.
Right.
What I'll tell you why that scene like really worked for me, because first of all, like I said earlier, you don't try to whip up any like cheap tension by moving the camera around and around or something like that. There is no, like, it's a very classy and elegant thing. But the second thing is also because one of the things that you really appreciate about this movie is that is I really like about this movie is the stillness. Like you're talking about there is no unmotivated camera move, right? And because when you're still, you don't know what can burst out. Like the stillness is scarier than like motion, like for example, when you're holding a frame and the killer suddenly comes through, that's actually scarier than you following the killer from behind and then that person coming and kind of being the thing. Because this is again a Fincher trick, because he always holds a frame.
Even in this film, I think it's Rosemary's Baby, where they go into the room but the camera stays. And they say in the initial times that people were actually trying to peep and try to look what's happening.
So when that railway checkpost scene comes, what was the logic for you to just stick to a very basic short reaction shot structure?
Even at the writing stage, we knew at that particular scene when I was narrating, there was great dramatic weight, even when I was simply narrating. So at that time, I knew there is an inherent drama to it, right? There's no need for us to sort of underline and do other things.
Right.
While we were in prep, so Kalai and I had this interesting idea. What if we shoot the scene like a like a Mexican standoff. You've seen the westerns, right? Where the three guys are lining up, close-ups of the eyes and the holster, and it's just short reaction shot. And what we did was we kept on increasing the tempo of the cuts.
Right.
Like let's say the first section, each cut average was about 5 seconds. Towards the end, it would be close to 1.5 seconds. So that was the idea. And then we had the camera on Panther. Though it seems still, actually every shot is in movement.
Yeah, you want to just explain
very,
Panther for...
So like Panther is this kind of an advanced dolly, right? Which gives you both the back and forward movement, also up and down movement.
Yeah.
And it's like a robotic
So
thing.
it's like a mount.
Yeah, it's a mount. It's a mount where you put a camera, and it's pretty compact, so you can get in very small places. So this particular scene, the checkpost scene, we shot it near Chengalpet. So we didn't get permission to be on the tracks, and we didn't have control of the trains. So the first thing we needed to do was get the chart from the local railway station, map out the trains. I mean, the times the train is going to cross. So we, again, because of storyboarding, we knew exactly for 6 shots, we needed the train. So we marked those 6 shots. So whatever we were doing, when the train was coming, we'll go to that. We'll just stop it. We'll go there. We'll set up the camera, we'll set up the actors. We wait for the train to cross. And then we'll again come back to the shooting. And then someone's going to say, like an AD reminds, sir, the train's going to come again. So that was a very, very interesting. We shot it for 12 hours.
Right.
Close to 12 hours. It's like a 4 or 5 minute scene. So that was the thing. Since there's already drama in the scene, we didn't want to do much. And we wanted to treat it very classically. But the pace was building up through the tempo of the cuts, and the sound design, right? The Sync Cinema and Raja Krishnan sir, they beautifully worked on the distant train horns.
Yeah.
And towards the end of the scene, the train crosses and there's a stillness to it, and then there's a burst of like a violent train crossing, the train horns and all of that.
Right.
So it's a very designed scene, right from the writing to the execution.
Because that stillness works, especially when you're kind of really playing with the audience, right? At that point. So this guy's asking about the movie that he saw and about a particular aspect of the movie that he saw, which is not there, but he wants to say that it's there, so that he wants to see if this guy really saw the movie or not.
Yes.
And then at that point where he asks, so how was this aspect of the movie? He takes his time.
Yes.
So that's why I'm saying that stillness really adds to the thing, because you don't know. You're waiting to see, is this guy going to say the right answer
or the wrong answer.
or the wrong answer?
Right.
So that's why that I really, really like the way you handle the film. The entire film actually is a directorial showcase for me, and I just think you did a fabulous job.
Thank you, sir.
And I wish this movie all success.
Well, thank you so much.
And having known you for so long, there's a I just...
So I think we should tell everyone that I edited the first masterclass, Mani sir's masterclass. We edited it together.
So actually, when I did this 3-part...
That's your first, your social
major
YouTube.
thing. Yeah.
YouTube,
No, I don't know if it's the first, but yeah, that was the big thing that we did first. So he edited the Maniratnam 3-part interview for Kartuveli Day. So I've known him for a long time. We're very, very happy when somebody, because I've seen your ad films and they're really well made. And so, it's very nice to see that coming on a stage. So that's why I wanted you to explain, because a lot of the time, people notice the twists, they notice a performance, they probably notice the music or whatever, but direction is such an important thing holding it together. But it's like air, it's invisible, because it's what everybody uses to breathe, but at the same time you can't see it. But I think that's what I wanted you to explain as to how you directed this film. So all the best, and I hope Porthuril all success.
Thank you so much, sir. Thanks for having me.
Holidays nale நம்ம GT Holidays தான் South India's #1 travel brand. தலைசிறந்த திருமண நகைகளின் பிரத்யேக அணிவகுப்பு ஸ்ரீகுமரன் தங்க மாளிகை. Meenakshi Faculty of Yoga Science and Therapy. Admissions open for BSc and MSc Yoga. Apply now.